Mina Aisatus Maisise and today the camera this the Sierra Leone Police Headquarters concerning the press conference where the Sierra Leone Police call for can give updates to the press but things them where they happen inside the Sierra Leone Police.
On my immediate left, of course, is the operations officer of the Criminal Investigations Department, CID, DASP Francis Levy. On my extreme left is Superintendent Edward Senesi, representing the Regional Commander, Freetown East. And of course, on my far right, he needs no introduction, Media One, the spokesperson of the Sierra Leone Police, and of course our chairperson as usual is the Director of Operations, AIG Amadou Mana. Thank you so very much, sir.
Thank you. Okay, I think today it is working. Good afternoon and welcome to our press briefing as usual. And I want to thank Media 2 for holding on to the fort for Media 1. I always would love to have you people here, at least on every Thursday. Unfortunately, there are certain times when we are starved of information and therefore we won't call you. But if you have time and you think we have information or you require any information, you can come in. Over the last 2 weeks, the police has done a lot in terms of our investigations, and the operations officer, Mr. Levy from CID, will be able to give updates on that. The IGP, of course, went to Nigeria for the graduation ceremony of 10 of our top officials, police officers, that went for strategic command calls. Media One being one of them, came back last week. And that is good news because we'll have fresh brains in the police that will share some strategic issues. This type of training went out of our radar for the last 10 years or so. And we were part of the first of those. In those good old days, we were going to England. We've resorted to going to Nigeria. And I know shortly it will be Ghana. So, but these are all capacity issues that are very, very necessary for the police. And of course, we had the bad news that involving some of our police officers. One of our police officers is in the media all of these days. I know Media One will be able to tell you a lot more because he had to go to, I think, was it SLBS on 98.1, where he was questioned on some of these issues. He has the details and will be able to give you updates on those issues. Our promotion issues are on for the Sierra Leone Police. Very shortly, we should be moving out of Freetown. Some of us will remain in Freetown to ensure that we go through the process very well and ensure that all those that are eligible will be interviewed, and those that are due for promotions will be promoted, because it doesn't, people will always tell you it comes from God, and if everybody gets promoted, who will be the servant? You know, I always tell people, if everybody becomes a rich man, we'll not have any journalist, we'll not have any police officer, we'll not even have a cook. Taxi drivers, everybody will drive himself. And there will be chaos. No vehicle will move in the streets because it will be clustered. So you will hear a lot more about our developments within the police. A lot more has happened. The uniform issues, I don't know whether we had our storekeeper to give you some updates on that. We've got some uniform for the OSD. Very shortly we'll be having uniforms for the general duty. Unfortunately, people have been crying us down on raincoats. We've been able to supply few to some of our officials that are outside. It is not only in Freetown, we did so across the country. There are several more updates on the re-establishment of the police ranks. We'll have to tell you about our police ranks. We'll have to tell you about updates on Freetown, West Africa representatives. West Region representative. I've not seen him now, and I'm not. You are here for whom? Oh, Freetown East. Oh, the East Region representative is here, and a lot more. You are at liberty to ask after the briefing. You are at liberty to ask questions, touching on anything. We have nothing to hide, no skeleton in our cupboard. So I think we'll be at liberty to also answer your questions. On this note, I want to welcome you again and thank all those. Oh, good. Mr. Johnson is here now. Yes, for coming on time and for bearing up with us. It's always difficult to get our people together, but with your presence, we know we'll do all in our best to ensure that we cooperate and give you whatever you require. Probably not exactly what you want, but what we know we have in our hands. On this note, I want to call on the Director, Crime Services, or his representatives, the Operations Officer, Mr. Francis Levy, to give us updates on crime issues in this country. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Director of Operations, Director of Human Resources, and Media One. You are welcome back home. Deputy Media, the First Estate, ladies and gentlemen. For now, it will be very interesting to tell you that for now, we don't have any serious issues, neither topical issues. Most of the issues before, some have been arranged before courts and some have at the office of the DPP for advice. So for now we have a situation through the effort of both you, the media estates, and the other agencies in terms of community policing. We are above situation for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Levy, for those updates. What I would want to assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that we have made some few discoveries of cannabis. A lot more we arrested at Susan's Bay by Eastern Police. Those cannabis were meant for Guinea. They were in a boat heading towards Guinea. And the police had information that Eastern Police came there and arrested the cannabis. All of the suspects that were in the boat fled. But that matter is with Toku. And lot more marshmallow. One of the active ingredients for Kush was arrested also at the key, and I think Rick Paul East will be able to throw some light and some military camouflage. Well, how do I call them? Some camouflage that has semblance with our military uniform in this country, our police uniform in this country. We are also arrested, and those are also being investigated. So what I normally would ask is, some of these things are so serious that there is a law for it, and some people thought we were joking. The law is very clear. I want just to read something on the law, and so that some people will know. I try to get the law for you people. We can charge it under personation if we want to, and we can also charge it under Archibald. We can personation and uniform. This we can charge, and we can charge in our under the Sierra Leone laws, which is very, very clear as well. You know, so this is Act, the Personation of Uniform Act of 1975. This is so clear here that sure. This and what's in Section 4 and 5 of the Personation and Uniform Act are hereby repealed and replaced by the following new sections. Yes, it is here. This one will be read by the media tool later on. It appears to be too long. For those that will be interested, you'll meet him and they'll be able to share with you. So simple and nice law that whosoever wears anything that resembles police uniform or military uniform commits an offense. And that one, the person will be charged to court. So it is no advantage that people are taking when they say, hey, you always until you buy police or military uniform. Where they hold you, it's a problem. On the promotion issue, I'd want to call the Director of Human Resources, AIG Patrick Johnson, to give you an update on our promotion. We want to make it so open so that everybody will know what is going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amana. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Directorate of Human Resource is charged with taking lead in the process of promotions in the police. This process started some time ago, January, and it's continued, it's ongoing, it's a process within the policies of the Australian police promotion policy. Adverts were made earlier on for people to apply who are eligible to the criteria set for promotion. And when this was done, or has been done, the Human Resource Directorate has vetted those application forms, taking into account the eligibility considerations or criteria. And the next step, if a committee has been set, which is headed by our Deputy Superior Police and members from other departments and Human Resource Directorate to ensure there is fairness and openness in the system. So, those who have applied, we have over 8,000 officers and men who have applied, who qualified for various positions to be filled, but then it is limited. It is limited, it may be qualified, yes, but not everyone, because the vacancies are limited also. So we have few spaces for up to 3,000 vacancies in various ranks, and we intend to fill those ranks with qualified persons. How do we do it? We have also stated times for, in fact, those lists, those eligible the lists have been displayed, have been published nationwide, and at the same time, dates for interviews have been set. Interview panels have been set, and we will have briefing for all members of the interview panel to be on the same plane and what they should be looking for based on the interviews they'll be conducting. And colleagues will be living here also all over the country. We're going to do it simultaneously. A date has been fixed. We hope to start our interviews on Monday the 6th. All being well, we hope to start on Monday the 6th so that the process continues. I mean, as soon as that one is completed, then the committee meets again to get the results of the interviews conducted, and after which those successful candidates, names of them will be published and given various ranks to be promoted as recommended by the promotion committee. It's not a one-man business. It's a committee. It's a board, an interview board from various members of the panel at various ranks to be on that board to see that people are treated fairly and all the fair play will be there, so that at the end of the day we have credible promotions on those who deserving members of the force for now. I think that's all I can say for now concerning our promotions. And somebody was asking some time ago, so let me also don't allow them to come in. Likewise, the recruitment process, it's always a process. I mean, a lot of people apply, lots and lots, for just vacancy of 1,000. We have over 18,000 applicants, up to 18,000 applicants for yes. So that's the demand you can see on the police. So it took time to use scratch cards because people submitted the results. We have to check, cross-check.
So just tell Singer to put it there. They will just use the
okay, well, these are people who have started exams 3-4 years ago. I'm not applying. So I mean, it's not a new one. So I hope we'll come to that someday. That they just send electronically to us. Yeah. But and even the applications have to be electronically done, and then we verify online, and then yeah. But now we are dealing with a lot of papers, which we just finished, and the next stage is now to give them exams. Because that's what the police says, to give them exams so that we can still continue screening to know who will fit for the job. After which they have other processes like medical fitness, interviews, and so on and so forth. So that's what we are doing now. We're overhammering these things and we hope to get it off our back as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson, and on the promotion issues. I think it's a very contentious issue, and it has gone high wire everywhere in this country. Promotions. Yesterday, somebody called me and told me that he had promotions out. You know, even the shortlist that he placed on the boards are now looked at as if some other people are promoted and others have been left out. So those are some of the things that will have to be. We have not made any promotions. And when we are making it, I think it will be very clear. Everybody will understand because we'll come here, we'll call a press conference, and we'll tell you how the promotion went. And those that have been promoted, we think we need to tell you. I will now come to the update on the re-establishment of police ranks. Superintendent Brenda Kamara, Head of Media.
Mr. Chairman, and the Director of Human Resource Management, and all the updated members of the Fourth Estate. We thought it very necessary to let you know about the re-establishment of ranks. Because if you are talking about promotion, there is need for you to know which rank somebody is going to be promoted to. But I'm going to treat it like the first phase, the second phase, and then the last phase. Let me start with the establishment of ranks. Before 1999, we had about 19 ranks in the police. But around 1999 and 2003, we had the restructuring. They were restructuring the police. And so there was need for some restructuring to be done with regards to the ranks. And I can still recall some of the mantra they used at the time were that one, there were duplicity of roles. In other words, somebody is serving as a corporal and somebody is serving as sergeant. the roles were overlapping on functions and duplicity of roles. And so it was decided that some of the ranks were going to be knocked off. And those ranks were knocked off. And but over a period of time, we have come to realize that there is stagnation in the police. Sometimes you are fortunate enough to be promoted up to the rank of chief superintendent when you still have something like 25 or 20 years in the police. And then if you are promoted to AIG, then it means you have to be AIG for 20 years. Or you be AIG for 15 years. And that one becomes like, you become so bored serving in one rank for over a period of time. And so, if you can go through, initially we were talking about when you go through the training as a recruit, you come out, you serve your probation period, and then you are promoted to, let's say you are confirmed as a constable, and from there you become a corporal, and from there you move on to sergeant, sergeant major, sub-inspector, inspector, chief inspector. In those days we also have cadet ASP, that is one PIP, what you normally call button, and then the ASP, the deputy superintendent, the superintendent, the chief superintendent, the assistant commissioner, senior assistant commissioner, deputy commissioner, commissioner, DIG and IG. And so that one was flattened to 9. So instead of now having corporal, it was corporal and then sergeant major were removed. So which means when you come from constable, you are promoted to sergeant. That is what obtains now. Understand? And from sergeant, instead of going to sub-inspector or maybe sergeant major, you take it straight off to inspector. And from inspector, instead of going to chief inspector, as usually as it was happening, you are now moved on to assistant superintendent, ASP. And from ASP, instead of going to the next rank by then, which was DSP, they take you to superintendent. And then from superintendent, they take you to chief superintendent. And then from chief superintendent, for the older days, they will have to take you to assistant commissioner. And from there, senior assistant commissioner to deputy commissioner and then commissioner. So you now see that assistant commissioner, senior assistant commissioner, deputy commissioner, commissioner, they were flattened to become what we call AIG, assistant inspector general of police. And then from there, you move on to deputy inspector general and then inspector general. But I must inform you that we are going back to the old ranks. Not all of them, but we're going back to the old ranks. We are not coming with deputy commissioner. We are not coming with senior assistant commissioner. But we are going to come with all the other ranks we used to have before, except for senior assistant commissioner and deputy commissioner. So this is why we are going to do a presentation so that you see the ranks. Very shortly, we're going to do a presentation because there is going to be a change of decoration. And we might want you to know, you are not seeing inspectors before with that kind of rank. Maybe you see it maybe among those working at correctional services or maybe the fire force. But now, our police officers are going to be wearing those ranks. And you might be confused as to whether, you might be asking, which rank is this, which rank is that? And this is with immediate effect. So which means this promotion that is going to be affected, is going to be with those ranks. So this is why we've decided to take the pains to do a presentation so that you see the ranks and then you begin to recognize them as members of the Fourth Estate. So I can move from here and then move over so that we just do the presentation very shortly. And your permission, sir.
So you see this one? This is corporal. For now, we are not using corporal. But for the new promotions, we are going to be using corporal. So when you see somebody carrying this one, it means that person is carrying the corporal rank. So 2 chevrons, just 2 instead of 3. Move on to the next one. Of course, we have been seeing this one, sergeant. So which means when you move from constable, you are going to be promoted to corporal. And from corporal, you now move on to sergeant. Unlike what obtains now, from constable, you move on to sergeant. But no, we are now going to take people from constables to corporal. You understand? even though we are going to promote some people from constable to sergeant, depending on the number of years served. But you should now know that when you see the 2 chevrons, those people we call them corporal, they are carrying the corporal rank. So this is the sergeant rank. And this is for sergeant major. Sergeant major. This one is not existing now, but it's going to be reintroduced. So this is why we talk about re-established ranks. Understand? It was before, it was initially established, it was disestablished, in other words, they were removed. So now we are now going to re-establish them. So you see the sequence, eh? They were established long before now, that is 1964, when we had the Police Act of 1964. But at some point between 1993, 1999 and 2003, they were disestablished, some of these ranks. But now we are now going to re-establish them, bring them again, so that we allow a smooth flow of promotions. Understand? Rather than somebody stuck in one area for 15 years. We've seen people stuck in one area for 15 years. They could not be promoted to AIG because there is no vacancy there. So he keeps remaining as chief superintendent for 15 years and then he retires as chief superintendent. Fine. And this one is also going to be the next rank after sergeant major. So this is sub-inspector. It doesn't necessarily mean that when you leave sergeant, you should be promoted to sergeant major. But you should know that sergeant major is a rank. So it could even be promoted from sergeant to sub-inspector or from sergeant to inspector, depending on the criteria set. But you should know that if you see somebody with this one, it means this person is a sub-inspector. And this is one of the ranks we're also reintroducing. You understand? Go ahead. For inspectors, you have been seeing our inspectors putting on 2 pips. Not so? 2 buttons. Those ones we've been calling inspectors. They are no longer going to be using those 2 buttons. They are not going to be using this one. So when you see them, they are still inspectors. They are still going to be paid the money they were paid. But it's only that the decoration is changing. You go back to the old decoration. This has been the decoration, so we are going back to it. Because what they are carrying, or what they are carrying now, is the decoration initially being used by the assistant superintendent of police. Understand? So we are going to take those ranks back, those decorations back to their original places, you know. So this for, and then we are also going to have chief inspector of police. This is going to be the decoration, 3 bars. Initially we spoke about 1 bar, sub-inspector, 2 bars, inspectors, and 3 bars, chief inspectors. This is cadet ASP. If you come in as cadet, if you are admitted as cadet, in other words, there is advertisement for people to come as cadet ASP, just like the military, just like they do. They normally bring somebody as a second lieutenant. Understand? Second lieutenant. So if they bring you as cadet ASP, when you pass out from the training school, you come out with 1 star. What do you call 1 button? 1 star. That is cadet ASP, assistant superintendent. And then for superintendent, assistant superintendent itself is 2 stars. 2 stars. So for now, those guys you see with 2 stars, we call them what? Inspectors. We're no longer going to be called inspectors. Now when you see somebody with 2 stars, after the promotions are out, that person is not an inspector. It's a senior police officer. Understand? Assistant superintendent of police. And then, initially, for now, not initially, for now, those ones you see with 3 pips. I don't know where this one came from, but it's here. Yes, like Media 2. For Media 2 now, I'm not saying it's going to remain as ASP at all. I'm not saying that one. But if it's ASP, we're going to remove 1 button from there, one pip, because go back. Because the decoration for ASP is going to be 2 pips. So which means if it's ASP, this man now is going to move on to that 2 bars instead of carrying those 2 buttons, and those 2 bars will now be ASP. Like so, if you see. So he's going to get by God's grace. Amen. And if he's promoted to DSP, now we are wishing for a superintendent. If he's promoted to DSP, he's going to maintain it. So even though he's promoted, it's like when you say commodity go you understand? He's promoted, but he's still carrying the same because it was like carrying something.
But you'll be getting more money.
More money. Yeah. Understand? For every promotion goes with money. That is economic benefit. So it's going to be deputy superintendent. For now, we are not using deputy superintendent. The ranks, the decoration you have there for deputy superintendent is what the ASPs are using. So when we normalize the situation, these ones are now going for deputy superintendent, and then the ASPs will be carrying two pips. Of course, I'm superintendent, I have to remain where I am. And my decoration is going to be the same. Not so, that's for superintendent. It has been so since time immemorial. Like the military, they will tell you about major. This is what they call major. We call this superintendent. Yes. Chief superintendent. As it were, so it is, and so it's going to be. Chief superintendent. For the military, say lieutenant colonel. You understand? So it's chief superintendent. This one has been so, and it's going to remain so. So this, when you see this one, this is going to be reintroduced. So when you see somebody carrying this one, that's individual. You call that individual assistant commissioner of police, ACP. When you see this one, in future, that individual, you refer to that individual as assistant commissioner of police, ACP, above chief superintendent. And when you see this one for now, it's good for you to know this one. If you look on the shoulders of our bosses there, they are the ones carrying it. Not so, but it's going to change. It's going to change. For the promotions that are coming out, or for the new ranks that are coming out, this one is now going to be commissioner of police, not AIG any longer. So when you see somebody carrying this one, it's not AIG, but commissioner of police. And the AIG is going to change as well. Because from commissioner, you move on to AIG. So you go to AIG. See, there is going to be an addition now for the AIGs. Additional bar. Something is going to be placed in the middle, additional bar. So, in time to come, when you see this one, we call them AIGs. But when you see them like they are, we call them what? Commissioners. Yes. Do you know why we didn't go to the DIG and IG? Now the same no more. It's going to be the same. The IG and DIG is going to be the same. So this is why we've taken you through. If you have any questions, then you can ask before I take my seat.